Hello students, welcome to the session. So in the earlier sessions we have covered the exam structure for CAT and the syllabus part of Quant. Now in today's session we are going to start with our very first topic of arithmetic, and that is percentage. Now this is one of the topics that you all have studied in your elementary classes, somewhere in your 5th class or in your 6th class kind of a thing. But some people might having this doubt as well, like when to multiply it by 100, when to divide by 100, which number we should take in the numerator, which number we should consider in the denominator. So in today's class, we are going to eliminate all those doubts. So let's get started. So we are going to start with these two questions first. The first question says, what is 20% of 50? And second question says, 20 is what percent of 50? So to solve these type of questions, what we need to do is we have to use some kinds of keywords. Now, what are those keywords? These are the keywords. So how we can use these keywords is, if you see what in any of the language, then what means any kind of variable. So you can assign any variable like x or y or z. Similarly, percentage stands for division by 100. So whenever you see percentage sign, it always means that you have to divide it by 100. Of stands for multiplication and is stands for equal to. Now we are going to see that how we can use these keywords in that question. So let's start. Now this is our very first question. What is 20% of 50? So let's use the keywords. So as it says, what means any kind of unknown, so let's consider that unknown to be x. Then it says is means equals to. Then the next is 20%. So 20 means 20 and percentage means divided by 100. Then it says of 50. Of stands for multiplication, 50 stands for 50. So if you solve this, then the value of x comes out to be 50 and 100 will be cancelled and the final answer will be 10. So for the very first question, the answer will be equal to 10. Okay. Similarly, we can also try question number 2. So how we can try this? Again, we have to use the keywords. As the question suggests, 20 is means equals to, what means any kind of unknown, percent means divided by 100, of means multiplication, 50 means 50. Again, we can do the simplification. 50 will be cancelled by 2 and then the x value will be equal to 40. So from this we get the value of x as 40. So now the answer will be 20 is what percent of 50? So we can say 20 is 40% of 50. So in this way we can solve any question. Let's start with this question. First we are going to read question that if 10% of A is equal to 130% of B, what percent of B is A? So in this question, again we need to use keywords very carefully. So let's get started. So it says 10, which means 10, percent, which means divided by 100, of means multiplication, A means simply A, is equal to, it means equal to sign, 130% of B. So similarly 130% means divided by 100, of means multiplication, and B means simply B. So we can simplify this first of all. So what I'll get? I will get A equals 13B. So this is one relation that I have. Now let's read the question ahead. So question says, what percent of B is A? So here again we need to use the keywords. How we can use the keywords? Let me write it with another pen. So what percent means, what means any kind of unknown variable x, percent means divided by 100, of means multiplication, B is A, B is A. Now how we can simplify? We know this relation that A is equal to 13B, so we can directly put it here. So we will get that x divided by 100 times B will be equal to 13B. Now b and b will be cancelled and the value of x that we will get will be equal to 1300. Now we can see which option is 1300. So option fourth is 1300, which is the correct answer for this question. So I hope you know how we can use variables or we can use keywords very carefully. Now let's move on to the next part. Again, sometimes there is a problem of language. Now what is the problem? As if you read these two questions, the first question says if x is increased by 200%, what is the new value of x? Similarly, in the next question it says if x is increased to 200%, what is the new value of x? Now, both the questions are similar. The only change is of increased by and increased to. So you have to be very careful with dealing with these type of questions. So how we are going to solve these questions? Now let's talk about the first question where you will have this increased by. So whenever you have this increased by, what you have to do is in the initial value, which in this case is what? X. Here we are going to add 200% of the initial value. So we need to add 200% of x in the x. This is what we have to do when we are having this increased by. So what will be the final answer if you solve? So this will be cancelled and finally we will get the answer as 3x. So what will be the new value? The new value will be 3x. Similarly, now when we are having this increased to here, what we need to do is if x is increased to 200%, it means that we have to reach to that level only. So here we do not have to do any kind of addition. We just need to find 200% of the initial value, which in this case is what? X, and our answer will be finally 2x. So here the answer was 2x, here the answer was 3x. So just because of one word, our entire question can be wrong. So we have to read very carefully, and then we should also know how to solve increased by and how to solve increased to. So I hope it is also clear. Now let's try one more question. This is that if 3x is increased by 250%, find the new value. Again, this is 3x. So we can see that this is 3x, which is increased by 250%, and we have to find the new value. So again, take out a 1 minute time, solve this question, and then we'll see what is the answer. So now let's try this question. Again, in this case, first we need to look for this increased by. So if there is increased by, so what we have to do? We have to add. Now, first we need to see what is the initial value. The initial value is 3x in this case. Now, in this we have to add what? We have to add 250% of the initial value, which is again 3x. Some of you might have done x over here, but again we have to find out the percentage of the initial value, and initial value is what? Initial value is 3x. Now we can simplify this. So this will become 2.5x. So this is 3x plus how much it will become? It will be 7.5x. So if you will add them, the answer will be 10.5x. Okay. So if you simplify your answer as well, it will also be 10.5x. So if you got 21x by 2, that is also correct because that also ends to 10.5x. I hope this is also clear. Now let's move on to the next part. And the next is that if 50% of x is increased by 200%, the resulting value is 750. What is the value of the x? So again, it's the same type of question, little bit tricky because of the wordings and the data that we have. Again, try this question. For this question, you can take 1.5 minutes of time. Try this and let me know the answers. Now let's try this question. So in this question it says 50% of x is increased by 200%. So the initial value that we have in this case is what? It is 50% of x. So first of all, let's simplify the initial value. 50% of x. So how much it will be? It will be 0.5x. So this is what? This is the initial value that we have. Next, if you read further, then you will see increased by. Increased by means that in the initial value we have to add. So what is the initial value? Initial value is 0.5x. How much we have to add? We have to add 200%. And then it says the resulting value is how much? The resulting value is 750. So let's try this. So as we know, in the initial value, we have to add how much? 200% of the initial value, which is again what? 0.5x. And then it results to how much? It results to 750. Now what we can do? We can simplify this equation and we can find the value of x. So how we are going to simplify? These zeros will be cancelled first of all. Here we will have 0.5x plus here we will have 1x, and that is equal to 750. Now this is equal to how much? This is equal to 1.5x, and which is equal to 750. Now the value of x, if you simplify from here, will be 750 divided by 1.5. So I'm solving it here. How much it will become? This will become 750 divided by 1.5. If you are removing this decimal, then a 0 will be here. If you solve further, the final answer that you will get will be 500. So the value of x that we get from this question is 500. I hope you get this question. Now let's move on to the next part, which is percentage change. So this is a formula to calculate percentage change. What is the formula? The formula is final value minus initial value divided by initial value into 100. So this is a formula to calculate percentage change. Very easy formula. What we need to do is we just need to identify the final value and the initial value from the question, and we just need to put them in our formula, and we can easily calculate percentage change. So one question I'll be telling you how to solve, and then we are having certain number of questions which you have to solve, and then in the next video we are going to discuss them. So first let's try one question together. So this is a question. Now first we are going to read the question. So question says that a student scored 60 marks out of 100, and next time she scored 75 marks. Why? What percent did her marks increase? So what we need to find? By what percent? So basically we need to find the percentage change value. Again, what is the formula first of all? The formula for percentage change was final value minus initial value divided by initial value into 100. Okay, so what is the final value in this question? If you see, initially how many marks she has? She has 60 marks. After next time she scored how many marks? She scored 75 marks. So we know that the final marks were 75. The initial marks are how much? 60. The initial marks are 60 multiplied by 100. So how we can solve this? 75 minus 60 will be 15 divided by 60 into 100. So if you simplify this, this will be 4, and finally you will get your answer as 25. So it means you can say that what is the percentage change? The percentage change is of 25%, or we can say the marks increased by 25%. So I hope you also get this question. Now, as I said, there are some additional questions which you have to solve. So let's move on to those questions. So now these are the 3 questions which you have to solve and which we are going to discuss in the next video. So pause your video, try out these questions, write down your answers, and then in the next video we are going to discuss each and every question. Thank you so much.